Hello everyone, I am Shatrupa and today I have bought some programming MCQs. So these questions have been handpicked by me. So these have either come in TCS exam or Accenture exam or in Cape Gemini online test. So let's have a look at the kind of questions they have asked in the previous years. So this is the first question which says find the output of the code snippet, okay? So this is a C code. You can see it's a C code that is written. So there is a function that is void f, right? Now it has declared an integer that is I, which is static in nature, and it is just declared. There is no initialization done. So the value of I shall be initialized to 0, simply 0. Why? Because integers default value is 0, so it will be initialized to 0. Then it says plus plus I, and then it says printf. So in printf we are printing I, right? Okay, and then we have this main function which is calling f thrice. F is being called thrice. So what is happening? Initially the I value is 0. Okay, so when this first time this f is being called, the I value is 0. Then it is getting pre-incremented. So pre-increment means the I value will first be incremented and then the rest of the statement will be executed. So incremented value will become 1. I value will become 1. Okay, then it is saying print I. So I will be printed. Then it is saying again call function f. So again when it goes back over here, now the I value has changed from 0, it has become to 1, right? I value has changed from 0 to 1. So then again it will do increment of I. So I will be again incremented. So I value is now 1. So if I do plus plus I, it will become 2, right? So again it says print 2. So again 2 will be printed. Then there is again one f function calling. So again this one will be invoked. So when this is invoked, here the I value has changed to 2. So again what it will do plus plus I. So plus plus I means I value will change to 3. Okay, then it says print I. So again I value will be printed, that is 3. And only thrice this f function has been called. So what it will do, it first call of f, I value was 0, it got incremented. It was, since it was a pre-increment, the value changed to 1. 1 was printed. In second, here the I value had already changed to 1. So again with pre-increment of I value became 2. 2 was printed. And finally, in the third call, I value was 2 with again an increment of I value. Since it was a pre-increment, it again got changed to 3. And 3 was printed. So my output will be something like 1, 2 and 3. Okay, if you want to print the output something like this, after this percentage %d you have to put a backslash n. Okay, since there is no backslash n, it will be printed in a single line and not in multiple lines. Okay, so moving on here. Okay, so here the answer is in option D. Okay, answer is in option D, that is 1, 2 and 3. So moving on to the next question. So this question had probably come in Cape Gemini and we have solved this question in previous videos, but still let's have a look. So there is an integer function which has two parameters a and b. Okay, it is saying that if a and b. Okay, so for this you need the values of a and b. So just write down the value of a is 4 and value of b is 1. Okay, just write down this thing. This is important. This is given in the question. Okay, I probably missed out over here, but this is given in the question. So write this down. So always remember, when two values are put in an if condition with AND operators, the values, if they are non-zero, then the output is always true. I've already mentioned this in previous video. If there are only values which is a non-zero value, then the output is always true. So 4 is a non-zero, 1 is also non-zero, so output will be true and operation on them will be true. Okay, so when if condition is true, this will be executed. What will be executed? It will return a plus function of a minus 1 and b minus 1. Okay, so it will return what? A's value is 4 plus it will return the function A minus 1, that is 4 minus 1 is 3, and B minus 1, that is 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay. So now this will again go back to this if condition. Now again in if condition, what it will check? It will check A and B. Okay. So A value is now 3 and B value is now 0. So now one value is 0. So the output will be false. Okay. So this will not be executed. The end will it will end the if loop. I mean if condition will terminate and it will return nothing but 0. Okay. So my output that will be printed will be only 4. Okay. So 4 will be my output. So answer is in option B. Always remember, when there is an AND operation, if both the values are non-zero numbers, then the output is true. If any one of them is a 0, then the output is false. Okay. Make sure you always have in your mind the AND table, the OR table, the XOR table. These three tables are majorly important. Okay. So you remember all these tables. So moving on to the next question. Okay, this question had come in one of the mock test of TCS. So it says that integer n, and n has been set to 11. Okay, n has the value 11. Now there is an array ARR of 4. So the values are like 10, 11, 1 and 12. Okay. So this means this is ARR of 0, this is ARR of 1, this is ARR of 2, this is ARR of 3. Why? Because my array begins from 0 to n minus 1. Okay. Now it's saying to change the values of the array index. So now array index 1 is changed to ARR1 minus ARR of 3. So ARR of 1's value is 11 minus ARR of 3 value is 12. So my answer is minus 1, right? So this will change to minus 1. Then next is ARR of 2 is equal to ARR of 2 plus ARR of 2. So ARR of 2 is 1 plus 1. So the value is 2. So ARR of 2 changes to 2. Then it says ARR of 3 is equal to 1 plus ARR of 3. Now 1 plus ARR of 3 is 12, so the value will change to 13. So this value becomes 13. So this is my new array. So what is my new array? My new array ARR of 4 is something like this: 10, minus 1, 2, 13. Okay. Now it says that n is equal to ARR of 3. Okay, so n's value was initially 11, it got changed to 13. Okay, this has changed to 13 now. Okay, so now it says that if n greater than ARR of 2, so 13 greater than ARR of 2 is 2, this is true, so it will print n is equal to n minus 1. Okay, now see, even in the else part it says n is equal to n minus 1. Okay. So this is a trick. Okay. Whenever the else part and the if part both has the same result, you need not solve the entire thing. Okay. You need not bother whether the answer will be true or false in the if condition. If both of the print statement are same, if both the executions are same, just simply calculate the value of n and write it. Okay, it really doesn't matter whether if is going to be satisfied or else is going to be satisfied, because even if is having the same condition as that of n, like n is equal to n minus 1, even if is also having n is equal to n minus 1. So it doesn't matter whether if is going to be satisfied or not. Okay, just simply calculate the value and write it down. Okay, and don't get confused. Okay, doesn't matter what is going to happen. Okay, after this, but if both these statements are same, doesn't matter if had this been false, it didn't matter to n. Why? Because even in else it was the same statement. Okay, so simply find out the value of n and write it. So n will become n is now 13, so 13 minus 1, n's value is 12. Okay, so now n's value got changed to 12. Now and if print n. Okay, so the output will be, it's an option D, that is 12. Okay, I hope I am clear with this. So whenever the if condition is there and else condition is there and both are having the same set of code within it, doesn't matter whether you have to satisfy this condition or not. Okay, just check if and else both are having the same statement, execute whatever is there in that statement. If it would have said n is equal to n plus 1, then you simply execute n is equal to n plus 1. Doesn't matter, you need not satisfy the if condition because both the cases it's the same thing. So even if it doesn't satisfy here, the same thing is happening again here. So it doesn't matter. Okay, so here the answer is in option D, that is 12. 12 is the answer. Moving on to the next code, which says find the output of the code snippet. Okay, so here we can see we are having bitwise operator, that is XOR. Okay, so anyways, here it says x is equal to 1, y is equal to 8 and z is equal to 2. Okay, so in the if condition, what it is doing, sorry, it's something like this. It's saying x XOR y and x XOR y and x XOR y XOR z. So now AND operation will be doing later. First we need to operate on XOR. Okay, so we know value of x is 1, y is 8 and z is 2. Okay, so now in order to do this XOR operation, I need to first find out the binary numbers of 1. So binary of 1 is 0 0 0 1, of 8 is 1 0 0 0, 2 is 0 0 1 0. Okay, so you need to remember these certain things. Okay, you need to remember or else you need to know how to find out the binary. So I'll rewrite it here. X is equal to 1, so binary is 0 0 0 1. Y is equal to 8, so the binary is 1 0 0 0, and z is equal to 2, so the binary is 0 0 1 0. Okay, so now why did I write it in 4 digit of 1 and 2? Because my 8, the binary of 8 is in 4 digit, so I have to maintain the same level. I have to write all of them in 4 digit. Okay, remember this, else I could have also written it as 0 0 1, didn't matter. Okay, but since my highest number is having 4 digits in its binary number, so I need to write all of them in 4 digit place. Okay, now if I do XOR, now in XOR table, if XOR is the operation, this is 0, this is 1, this is 0, this is 1, whenever there is same thing, the output is 0. Whenever there are different thing, the output is 1. Okay, if it is 0 0, both are same, so output will be 0. If it is 1 1, both are same, the output will be 0. But if it is opposite, like that is 0 1 or 1 0, the output will be 1 1. Okay, so now let's do it. X XOR y, so it will be something like this. My x value is 0 0 1 and y value is 1 0 0 0. So 1 and 0 are opposite, so output is 1. Here 0 0, so 0 0 0, so 0, so this is again 1. Okay, so now this one resembles what? This one resembles 9. Okay, binary of 9 is 1 0 0 1. Okay, remember this. So now I got this value is 9. Now what I need to find out one more thing is this. Okay, so for this what I can do, I can simply write 9 XOR z, which is equal to 9 XOR 2, which is equal to, the value of 9 is this and value of 2 is this. So this is different, so I'll get 1. This is different, so I'll get 1. This is same, so I'll get 0. This is different, so I get 1. Okay, so now this is the binary value of 11. Okay, so what will be my answer? So x, for this I'm writing this statement again, and x XOR y and x XOR y XOR z. For this my answer is like this, 9 and 11. So whenever the numbers are non-zero, my answer is always true. If even 1 would have been a 0, then my answer would have been false. Okay, so since all of them are non-zero, 9 is a non-zero, 9 is non-zero, 11 is non-zero, my answer is true. Okay, so if is true. So if is true means it will enter if which says x is equal to 1. Okay. So again you see here x value is 1. Here the x value was also 1. Initially the x value was 1 and after satisfying the condition also x value is 1. So this means we need not do so much calculations again. If my x value is initialized to 1 and then I see there is a if condition, after even if this if condition is satisfied, the x value is still 1. That makes no sense for solving if. Okay, because if value was 1, again the if value will be 1. So it makes no sense for solving it for if. Okay, so without solving for if, that is without doing so many bitwise operations, we could have straight gone to print statement, which is print x plus y plus z. So x value was initially 1, now also it is 1. So 1 plus 8 plus 2, value is 11. So my answer is in option A. Okay, that is 11. Okay, so the main motive of solving these kind of question is that you always don't get ample amount of time to solve entire bitwise operations. At times even we don't remember what is the value, binary value of 9 and 11. Okay, in those case one thing that you can do is to check if the value of a variable is being changed or not. If it doesn't change after executing a if statement, means it doesn't depend upon the if statement, like it doesn't matter whether if is true or false, then I can simply not solve this if condition and move ahead. Okay, so here my answer is option A, 11. Now moving on to the next question. This question was again asked in one of the TCS exam. Okay, so now this is not an error. Okay, remember we can always write something like this. This question we can always write something like this, that is int m is equal to 100, and then we can obviously have an block of code. Okay, we can obviously have a block of code. This is a block of code. This is not an error. This is a block of code which can be placed like this. This is not an error. Okay. Sometimes in option you get that it is a compilation error, and many of us see this and we write yes it is a compilation error, but no, it's not a compilation error. This is a correct code. This is known as a block. Okay. Now you see this has been written within the main function. It is asking us to find the output. So this is the main function. I have declared an local variable, that is m. Now within this block I have again declared another local variable m. So what will happen? Will this m's value be overwritten? Okay, so it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. Why? Because this m has its scope only from here to here. Once I close this curly braces, the m value written over here will be deleted. It doesn't matter anymore. This is deleted. This is deleted. Okay, it's not there. This does not exist. Why? Because this is a local variable for this block, and outside this block the value of this m does not exist. Its scope is only from this starting braces till this ending braces. Okay, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so the last statement which says that print f %d comma m. Okay, here what it will be printed, this value will be printed over here. So my output will be 100. Okay, doesn't matter what happens to this gets simply deleted. Why? Because this has a scope only till this closing bracket, not beyond this. This is inside a block. Doesn't matter whether this is a local variable, this is also a local variable. What will happen? So you need not apply a scientist brain. Okay, you can simply understand this much. When something is written within a curly braces without a function being declared, then the scope of that variable is only till the end of this curly braces, and outside that this one has no value, no worth. Okay, So the output will be simply 100. Whatever was initially declared, the value of m, which is there in the main function as a local variable, only that value will be printed. This m has no value after the scope of this block. Okay. So your answer is in option C. Okay. So moving on to the next question, which says find out how many times will high be printed. Okay. So this is again a main function. So here I is initialized to 0. So do. This means do while has one thing and very important, and other, it's an exception from other loops, that at least once this loop will be executed without satisfying the condition. It's not necessary whether the condition is satisfied or not, but for once this loop will run. Why? Because first it will do and then it will check the while condition. So this first time when it reaches do, it will for sure execute and then it will look for while condition. Okay. So now it will do what? It will do I plus plus. Do I plus plus. I value was 0. So here the value will be incremented and the I value will become 1. Okay. But this 1 will be used in the next loop or in next iteration. It will not be used now. Okay. So it will simply print what? It will print high. Okay. It will print high. Now the while condition says that while I less than 20, okay, I less than 20 means now the I value is 1, so this will run from I value equal to 1 to I value equal to 2019, right? So how many iterations will it do? It will do 2019 iterations successfully. Why 2019? Because when I value is incremented from 2019 to 2020, so here the condition will fail. Why? Because 2020 less than 2020. No, it's false. It's equal to. Okay, so it will only execute till 2019. So for 2019 iterations, it will print high. Okay. And one extra that it had printed before checking the while condition, that one will be added over here. So it will print 2020 times, it will print high. Okay. Always remember, when it is a do while condition, the while loop may or may not be executed once also, but this do statement will be executed at least once. Why? Because first it will do, then it will check for condition. Okay, so it doesn't matter. So for first iteration, it will print the result, that is here it is high, and while fulfilling the condition, that is while I less than 2020, it is going to print 2019 times. Okay, so 2019 plus 1, that is 2020 times. So my answer is in option D, that is 2020 times. Okay, so moving on to the next question, that is how many times will A, B, C be printed. Okay, so again here it is an variable, it's x. So this x has a loop that's run from -1 to x less than equal to 10 to x plus plus. Okay, so the first value of x is -1. So if -1 less than 5, this is true. Okay, so it is going to continue. Now what is the function of this continue? This continue will not bother about any other statement that follows it. It will simply take you back over here. Okay. So when it takes you back over here, again the x value will be incremented. It will become -2. Again it will come here, check -2 less than 5, true. Again continue, it will go back over here. So like that way, sorry, not -2, it will happen for 0, right? It is incremented. So I'll just redo it. X is equal to -1, then x less than equal to 10 less x plus plus. Okay, so if x less than 5, so x value is -1 less than 5, true, so it will do what? It will continue. So continue doesn't bother for any statement that comes below it. It will simply take us back to this for loop statement. Okay, here the x value has been incremented, so minus 1 has changed to 0. Now it will check 0 less than 5, true, again continue, again go back, again 1. So it will again check 1, it will again check 1 less than 5, true. So again what it will happen? It will again continue. Again it will go back to where? It will go back to the for statement. Here the x value has again changed to 2. So again 2 less than 5 is true. Again continue for 3. Similarly 4. Once it reaches 5, 5 less than 5, this is false. Okay, so what will happen? It will go to else part. In else part what it says break. So when it's a break statement, now break also doesn't bother about any statement that comes under it. It will simply exit the for loop. When the for loop is exited, the block is closed. There is no other statement. So A, B, C will be printed 0 times. It won't be printed. Okay, after break there is a print statement, right? You can see that. But since it's a break statement, it will simply exit the loop, means it will come out of the scope of the for block. It will not be here. It will come out after this curly braces. Okay, it will be here. The break will simply get you here. Okay, so it will be completely out of this for scope, for loop scope. So it will be printed 0 times. ABC won't be printed at all. Just remember, for a continue, it doesn't bother about any statement that comes below it. It simply takes us back to the for statement. In case of break, it doesn't bother about any statement that's following it. It simply takes you out of the loop. Okay, so here it will be printed 0 times. Now moving on to the next question. Now it says that int I is equal to 0 for I less than equal to 5 and I plus plus. Okay, so if you see this statement says print f percentage d comma I. Okay, so for this condition, this means that I is starting with 0. It will continue till I less than equal to 5. Okay, I plus plus. So I is 0, it's true, it will print I 1. Again the I value is incremented to 1, so again I is less than 5, it will again print 2. So it will print 0 first, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. How? I value is initially 0. Okay, so 0 less than equal to 5, true. So I plus plus, print I. So I value is 0, so 0 is printed. Now I value has been incremented to 1. Okay, so it says what? It says that I, that is 1 less than equal to 5 is true. So I plus plus, print I. So I is what? I is 1. Okay, now I value has been incremented to 2. So 2 less than equal to 5, true. So I plus plus, so print I value 2 is printed. Similarly I value becomes 3 and 4 and 5. Okay, when it comes to 5, it will check that I value is I less than equal to 5. It's true, so I plus plus, so it will print I. So I value is 5. Okay, so I value, after this step the I value has been incremented to 6. When it goes back and check that I less than equal to 5, 6 less than equal to 5, this is wrong, so the loop will terminate. So as per now, the output is something like 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. But this is a wrong answer. Why? Because after this for statement, you can see there is a semicolon. After this for statement, it is a semicolon over here. Okay, this semicolon, what it indicates, that whenever this one is completed, it will not go back down to printf statement. It will not go down to printf statement, rather it will go back to this condition itself, and it will check When will this allow you to go here? Once this condition becomes false, then only you can move on to the next statement. Until then, you have to keep doing this. So basically this one is used, this semicolon is used after for loop for a recursion. Okay, whenever you want a recursion to happen and you don't want the I value to be printed every time, you don't want it to be printed every time like this, so that time you do it. So you just want the final incremented value of I, so at that point you can put this semicolon. So what will this semicolon do? The semicolon will prevent you to go to the next statement, rather it will take you back inside the loop and satisfy the condition. If the condition satisfies, then it will continue within the loop only. You can only come to the next statement only when the loop terminates, only when the loop condition doesn't satisfy. Okay, so here what will be the answer? What is the last incremented value of I? Now at 5, when I was checked, it became true, so I value became plus plus, it became 6. Now when it was checked for 6, this became false. So I plus plus wasn't done. Why? Because the loop terminated. So my last value is I equal to 6. Okay, so my output is in option C. This is my answer. Okay, make sure you focus on the little details that are given in the question that can change the entire question. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Yes. So this is another interesting question which was asked in TCS 2019, I suppose. It says that it is an unsigned. Now what is an unsigned thing? Unsigned thing is anything that does not have a sign is unsigned. So any number that does not have a sign, that means that number is positive. If I write 1, what will you consider it? You will consider it as positive 1. You wouldn't consider as minus 1. So if I would have mentioned minus 1, this means this number is signed. And since here there is nothing, this means this is an unsigned number. That means it is by default positive. Okay. So unsigned I is equal to 65535, right? This is the value. Now remember, this is the maximum value that I can take on a scale for integers unsigned value. Okay, from 0 to 65535 is the maximum range that I can take. Okay, now it is checking a condition that while I plus plus not equal to 0, okay, the I plus plus value will become 65536. Okay, but this is a post increment, so this value will not be used here. Here the value will be 65535. So not equal to 0, it is true. So what it will print? It will print I plus plus I. It will print this. Now plus plus I means this is a pre-increment, means this value should be printed. But on this unsigned scale of I can only take values up to this. I can't increase this. I can't write down something like this. I can't write down 65536. Why? Because this is the maximum number. So this will not be printed. So what will happen? Whenever there is a pre-increment after this value, it will roll back to 0. It will simply roll back to 0. Okay. So it will roll back to 0, means again it will start printing 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, and again it will continue till 65535. Again it will roll back 35, sorry. So when again it becomes 65536, it will again roll back to 0 and again print 1, 2, 3, 4 like that way up to 65535. Okay. So this condition is known as a rollover operation. Okay, I'll explain you once again. So in an unsigned integer, it is basically from 0 to 65535. This is the maximum. Beyond this I can't go. So now it says that while I plus plus, since it's a post increment, it doesn't matter. I'm simply going to compare this number. Not equal to 0, it's true. Okay. Now the I value has already changed to 65536, and I have to print that too with another post increment, that is pre increment, that is 65537, right? So these numbers are not available on the number line. So whenever this condition arises that it exceeds the maximum number, it will simply roll you back to the first number. Okay. Now when it rolls you back to the first number, now I value has been reset to 0. So now again the while condition will be checked. Okay. So while condition will be checked, and while condition would have become, again I value is incremented, so it becomes 1. I not equal to 0 is true, so it will again print plus plus I. So like that way it will print what? It will print 0, it will start printing with 0, then it will print 1, then it will be printing 2, 3, like this way it will print 65535, and after this number it will again roll back to 0. So again it will print 1, 2, 3 up to 65535. Again after this it will roll back to 0. So again it will print like this. So this will continue endlessly. This will continue endlessly, infinite loop. Okay, it will turn into an infinite loop. You can try it. Okay, so here my answer is in option D. So this case, wherever my I value exceeds the maximum number or the maximum range of that data type, it will simply do a rollover operation and go back to the first value, that is 0. So remember the rollover operation. So even sometimes you have been questioned that what is a rollover operation. Okay, a state where the I value or any variable value exceeds the range of the data type assigned is a rollover operation. Then it simply rolls you back to the first element or the first number of that range. Okay, so your answer is in option D. Moving on to the next question. You need to find the output of this code snippet. So A is equal to 500, B is equal to 100, and C is not assigned. So C is initially 0. Okay, now if condition not of A greater than equal to 400. Now we'll consider this not later on. Okay, so forget this not. First let's solve for this much. Okay, so 500 greater than equal to 400. So this part is true. So now not of true. So this part becomes false. So now if is false. If become false. So this part won't be executed. So B's value will not be changed. This means this B is equal to 300. This statement won't be executed. It will only have what? The C value will have now 200, and it's saying printf B and C. So B and C will be printed. So B's value hasn't changed over here because if condition failed, it was false. So B value will remain same, that is 100, and C value is just changed, that became 200. So it will return 0. So your output will be 100, 200. Okay, comma will not be there, 100 and 200. So that is in option B. Okay, 100 and 200. This is how it will print the answers. Okay, I hope you are clear. You need to execute first the internal part and then put a not. That will be easy to solve. Okay, and since the if condition is false, the B value did not change and the C value was initialized to 200. Initially there was a garbage value assigned, that is 0, or a default value assigned, which was later changed or modified to 200. Okay, now moving on to the next question. So in the previous video on data structure, if you had seen, I had given this question. I had told that there is something missing in this question. So I'll just explain this question. So what was missing is this plus sign before 3 was missing. I had somehow missed out. So this is the correct question. Okay. Now if we solve this, I had always told you in a postfix expression, you need to consider a stack. Whenever it is an operand inserted into the stack, push operation is done, and whenever it is an operator, you pop 2 elements from the stack, pop 2 elements from stack, and push the result into stack. Okay, so now since 6 is an operand, it is pushed in, then 5 is also an operand, then 2 is also an operand, then 3 is also an operand. Now plus is an operator, so I'll pop out two elements, so I'll pop out 3 and 2. So stack follows LIFO, so last in first out, thereby pop will also be in that order, so 3 and 2 will be popped out, so value will be 5. Now 5 will be pushed back onto the stack, so my stack will now look something like this: 5, 5 and 6. Okay, now after plus there is another operand, that is 8, so 8 is pushed into the stack, then it is star. Okay, so star is an operator, so again pop out two elements, so this will be 8 star 5, which is equal to 40. Now 40 will be pushed back into the stack, so my stack will something look like this. It will be 40, 5 and 6. Okay, after star there is another operator, that is plus, so I'll pop out these two numbers. So 40 plus 5 will be 45, so 45 will be inserted into the stack. Okay, so 45 will be inserted, so my stack will look something like this: 45 and 6. Okay, after 45 this will okay, 6, this is my stack. So after this we have another operand, that is 3. So since it's an operand, it will be pushed into the stack, so this is my stack. Now after this I have a plus operation, so plus operation means I'll pop out two elements, that is 3 plus 45 will be popped out, which is 48. Okay, now 48 will be pushed back into the stack, so this will become 48 and 6. Okay, now there is another operator, that is star, so these two will be popped out: 48 into 6, so the value will be 288. Okay, so this result will be popped in into the stack, that is 288. So my stack will only have the final value, that is 288. So what is the value of this entire postfix expression? The output is 288, which is in option B. 288, option B. Okay, so 288 is the output of this postfix operation. So what I missed out was this plus, I had missed out in the previous video, data structure. So just change the question and you will get the answer. Okay, so that is all for today from my side. Thank you all.